The parade ground was silent, so silent that even the desert wind seemed afraid to breathe. 500 soldiers stood in formation, eyes fixed on a single woman in dusty combat boots, her uniform torn, her lip bleeding, yet her stance unshakable. Across from her stood a towering sergeant, rage boiling in his eyes as he stepped forward with a cruel smile. He thought she was weak. He thought she didn't belong. He thought kicking her to the ground would prove a point. But the moment his boot left the dirt, she whispered 3 words that froze the entire base. "I'm a Navy SEAL." 5 seconds later, the sergeant was screaming on the ground. His legs snapped like dry timber, and 500 soldiers watched history being rewritten. And none of them would forget her name again. They said she didn't look like a soldier, too small, too quiet, too calm. When Commander Elena Carter stepped onto Falcon Base for the joint training program, she felt hundreds of eyes burn into her back. Most soldiers whispered. Some smirked. A few rolled their eyes openly. She ignored them all. Elena had faced darker places than this desert camp. She had swum through black oceans under enemy fire. She had dragged dying teammates through mud and shrapnel. She had buried friends. She had broken her limits until she forgot where they used to be. Compared to that, judgmental stares were nothing. But Falcon Base had its own king. The man everyone feared, Sergeant Mason Grant. A man built like he'd been carved out of steel, widely respected, terrifyingly strict, and absolutely convinced that a woman had no place in elite combat. From the moment Elena arrived, Mason had made her life a test. If she ran 5 miles, he forced 10. If she lifted 100 pounds, he threw on another 50. If she stayed silent, he provoked her. She took everything without complaint, until the day he decided humiliation was the only thing left. It was supposed to be a routine demonstration of hand-to-hand defense techniques. Every soldier was gathered outside, 500 in total, standing in a tight square around the sparring ring. Mason called her forward. "Let's show them what you've got," he barked. His tone wasn't instructional. It was predatory. Elena stepped into the circle with calm eyes, her expression unreadable. The sun beat down harshly, turning the ground into hot dust. Soldiers shifted nervously, sensing something was wrong. Mason didn't circle her like an instructor. He charged. In one explosive motion, he swung a kick toward her ribs. A kick meant to hurt, not teach. Gasp shot through the ranks. A few soldiers looked away. Others leaned forward, expecting to see her collapse. But just as his boot was inches from her side, Elena's voice cut through the air. Steady, controlled, chilling. "Before you do that, you should know something." Mason froze mid-kick, anger flaring in his eyes. "And what's that?" Her gaze didn't waver. "I'm a Navy SEAL." A ripple ran through the entire formation. Soldiers straightened. Officers exchanged looks. Mason scoffed, too proud to process the truth. "Prove it." She did. In less than a heartbeat. The moment Mason's foot came crashing toward her, Elena twisted her body with lightning precision. She moved like water. Fluid, sharp, unstoppable. Her hand snapped up, catching his ankle mid-strike. The crowd gasped. Mason's face flooded with shock. But Elena wasn't done. With a swift, brutal movement, she pivoted her weight, wrenching his leg sideways. A sickening crack echoed across the training ground. Mason collapsed, screaming as dust exploded beneath him. 500 soldiers froze. Elena didn't move, didn't gloat, didn't even raise her voice. She simply stepped back, breathing steady as a heart monitor. Medical officers rushed forward. Mason clutched his leg, disbelief painted across his face. He wasn't just defeated, he was exposed. The mighty sergeant, the man who ruled with intimidation, had been shattered in seconds. The crowd parted as the base commander stormed forward. "Commander Carter, what happened here?" Elena stood tall. No fear, no apologies. "He attempted to injure a trainee during a demonstration," she said calmly. "I defended myself." The commander looked at Mason, then at the ring of witnesses. Not a single soldier spoke against her. Not one. Because every one of them had seen the truth, raw, painful, undeniable. She didn't break his leg out of vengeance. She broke it because he gave her no choice. Within hours, word had spread throughout the entire region. Officers whispered. Trainees stared in awe. And for the first time since she arrived, no one doubted her anymore. The next morning, something happened that stunned Elena more than any attack. As she walked onto the parade ground, all 500 soldiers stood at attention. A young private stepped forward. "Ma'am," he said, voice shaking. "Permission to train under you." Elena blinked, touched in a way she hadn't expected. "You don't need my permission," she replied. "You just need to be willing to work harder than you ever have." The private smiled, shoulders straightening. "We're ready, ma'am." Delina exhaled softly. Maybe this place wasn't her battleground anymore. Maybe it was her second chance. As the sun rose behind her, casting her shadow across the soldiers, she spoke with quiet strength. "We don't become warriors by being the strongest. We become warriors by standing up when the world says we shouldn't." And 500 soldiers stood straighter that day, because history hadn't just been made, it had been rewritten by her.